Good morning all. Good morning. This is the Motivator Show alongside, very soon, of course, Lady Chelsea.
Morning. Morning, everyone.
There you go. Let me sort out that sound, shall we? Let's sort out that sound. There we go. There we go. There you go. Right. How are you feeling, Lady Chelsea?
Okay. How are you?
Okay, well, let me just get this sorted out. There we are. There you are. Now then, we're not yet transmitting via internet radio. That will happen shortly. But we are transmitting, of course, live via our Facebook page and, of course, our YouTube channel, The Motivator Show. If you're unsure, that's where you are. You're either on one or other of them, obviously. Huh? Okay. And if you haven't done it yet, can I encourage you, if you're on Facebook, to press the like and, of course, the usual subscribe. And all that means is that you'll receive early notification of the theme for a proceeding show. All right. So press the like and subscribe on Facebook. And of course, if you are listening via YouTube, of course, press the like and press the subscribe and notification buttons. And of course, we will ensure you get and receive the information in a timely fashion. It just simply knows that, let us all know that you are listening and you want to be made aware of future shows. Okay, so really important to us. Now, today's show will be an interesting one. But before I begin, I want to, first of all, I want to give recognition that not only are we transmitting on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously, that we would normally also transmit via Galaxy Afiwe and the Galaxy Radio Show. And of course, I want to give praise and recognition to the management of Galaxy Radio. They are an important group of people. Not only are they important, they have demonstrated that they can sustain a radio station for more than 30 years. So they've stood and withstood the test of time. I want to give praise and recognition to Chief Pakombabai. Give praise and recognition to Elder Eric Kuti. Praise and recognition to Dr. Imam Abu Ratata. Praise and recognition to Nickel, the most royal, the longest serving pilot alongside the chief, of course, on the station. I, of course, never forgetting and give praise to the Empress Shanice, the solution finder, Here I am saying that we are the translate our words into action. Success is ours for the taking. She's concerned with solutions and following through with those solutions. We talk a lot. Actions speak louder than words. I give praise to Empress Shanice. Give praise. I also, of course, want to give some recognition to past contributors to the show, and I'll get to that. But I want to move quickly, Lady Chelsea, onto the usual health messages. Okay. Increasingly, I'm aware that those health messages or reminders are a crucial part of what it will take to ensure that each of us can have long, healthy lives. Just a reminder, a suggestion of what you need to do to ensure a long, healthy lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to encourage those of you out there to think about the amount of sugar that you are ingesting into your bodies. Those efforts to add tea to your tea and your coffee, or those soft drinks from those cans, and that really, really powerful brand whose name I will not quote. Okay. Okay. how they persuade us to consume sugar, particularly when we're youngsters. I don't know, Lady Chelsea, if you can recall, I most certainly recall that my mother would give me in my day, a sixpence. Do you know what a sixpence is, Lady Chelsea?
No.
Okay, I'm not laughing at you, of course. I'm laughing at the memory. A sixpence, old money, prior to decimalization, a sixpence is roughly equivalent to used to be 2.5 pence over here, might be 5 pence these days, but it was, it was a sixpence of one of these small coins, silvery looking coins. People of a certain age will remember them. Okay, and I used to be given that. And as far as I was concerned, that was big money. Big money. And of course, one of the few places I could go into without our parents looking over our shoulders and wondering what we're buying is, of course, the sweet shop. Yeah, there are sweet shops in most towns and villages right across Britain. But their purpose, let me remind you, their purpose is to encourage us to become addicted to sugar. That's what it is. Yeah. Elder Norma has reminded me about this, That's what they're designed to do, to encourage us to become addicted to sugar. But absolutely, I developed a very, very, very sweet tooth. Very sweet tooth. And I have to admit, I could consume vast quantities of sugar as a child, literally vast quantities of sugar. Oh my dear, So there you are. That's how they catch us when we're young. Yeah, that's how they catch us when we're young. So that's an admission for me. There you are. So of course, what I'm really concerned about is that's how we're caught as young people via those sweet shops, because sugar is so cheap to purchase. Of course, we purchased it.
Yeah.
So that's how I was caught. That's how I developed the addiction. Legal addiction. Can you believe it? Legal addiction. It's wrong, isn't it? Huh? That was wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
But anyway, that's how I got it. Okay. Elder Norma, thank you. Okay. But nevertheless, now I know better. In fact, we all know better. We are better informed. So I ask the audience listening to this, both live and those who listen to the recordings, I ask you to consider the amount of sugar you're ingesting into your bodies, okay? And it will not have an effect upon you tomorrow or next year, or maybe in the next decade. But if you continue to add additional sugars where you no needed, okay, it will have a cumulative impact. Some people can sustain it, can tolerate it, but there are large numbers of people, and judging by the numbers of who are suffering from diabetes today, okay, that significant numbers of people suffer from sugar damage to their bodies, called diabetes. Okay, I understand that up to 30% of the NHS budget here in Britain is spent treating people who have diabetes-related conditions. And you might recall a few weeks ago when we had the Association of Black Pharmacists here, Elijah mentioned that diabetes was a big problem in the African, Black, and Asian communities. Okay, because our diets are very rich, very energy potent. Okay, and it is for that reason that we need to think very carefully about the amount of sugar that we are ingesting. I know we're not yet transmitting via the radio. I'm still waiting the arrival of our engineer.
Okay.
But Lady Chelsea, what do you think about sugar and its impact? You tell us a quick word.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with everything you've said. You know, is you know, a lot of things, and children, it is targeted to children a lot. So like that is how it gets us. I have a sweet tooth, and I like used to go and get chocolate after school like all the time. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It's
I completely agree with you. Completely agree. Don't worry. But that's why the message is so important. We're not telling people. We're not telling people what to do. We ask them to consider it. Okay? And of course,
hello?
I know I say it every week, but I will just remind people about this speech given by Professor Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, which is which is an international leading university in the world, in the top 1%. Okay, and he noted that diabetes, there is an epidemic of diabetes across the Caribbean. Yeah, an epidemic of diabetes. Okay, and what it's effectively doing is shortening people's lives. Yeah, whole range of ailments are pertaining, and maybe we need to do a separate show on diabetes in not too distant future. Most say it's a biggie. But anyway, let me press on very quickly. I ask people also to consider the amount of salt that you're intaking. Salt is another one of those insidious ingredients we add to our food, you know? You said it last week, Lady Chelsea, we add it for flavor, huh? Add it for flavor. Why do we add it for flavor? Yeah? Why do we add it for flavor? It's like putting, forgive me, another product, like those tomato sauce things all over your food, you know? Yeah? Or vinegar all over your food, you know? It's no different. You know? Why do we add it to our food? Yeah, there isn't a sound reason why we add it. Okay, but the long-term effect of on our bodies of salt is, of course, hardened heart disease and, of course, hypertension and all the other symptoms and effects that has on your body and your mind. Yeah, but it's cumulative. Doesn't happen tomorrow or next week or next month or next year or the next decade, but over a period of time, decades, as you reach middle age and you're slightly older, that's when it becomes really apparent. In some cases, it's when you're younger. Yeah. But all too often, it becomes apparent as you reach a middle and later stage, because your body's robustness, ability to resist the abuse that you're exposing it to is reduced. Yeah, and of course, it's very similar to the amount of carbohydrates that we ingest. Carbohydrates typically from wheat products. Okay, and what we do with carbohydrate, we convert it to energy and we store it in our bodies. And of course, too much energy in our bodies mean, of course, that we grow fat and expand. You know. And of course, if you do one of those tests, you can see the amount of fat around one's organs. Okay? Yeah, that's the effect it has. Okay, and similarly, when you dunk your food in those animal fats, you know, and talked about the fats in meats and so on, you know. Oh, for heaven's sake, you know. Oh, for heaven's sake, you know. What are we doing to ourselves? You know? What are we doing to yourselves? No? As I said, we'll get my nutritionist on, who's a very robust, you know? Yeah. Very robust, I can tell you. And I can assure you, she makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense to me. And of course, last thing, the message should always end positive ways. What can we do about it? What can we do about it? Take control of our health. Of course, all nutritionists would tell us that we should eat far more fruit and vegetables, you know? That should be a large part of our diet. A good balanced meal is mostly fruits and vegetables with a small amount of meat if you need it. Okay? That's what they would say. They would encourage us to drink more water. Yeah, ensure we're appropriately hydrated. I have my drink here. Yeah, appropriately hydrated. They encourage us most certainly to exercise. Exercise is good for our bodies. You know, it's a powerful means of protecting ourselves from all the ailments that pervade us around the world. You know, that is what we need to do. More fruits and vegetables, ensure a balanced diet, exercise, to racing your heart. You know, your heart wants to be raced. It wants to be raced. Nutritionists would tell us that. So I'm confident we can continue to move forward in a truly positive way. Balanced meal. I'm confident not only can we take control of these circumstances, but we are ideally placed to take control. We're absolutely hydrated. Okay, I think we've got some feedback from somewhere. Not sure where it's coming from now, Lady Chelsea. Can I resolve that feedback very quickly? I'll adjust. It's good for our body. I'll adjust a setting somewhere. I can't see where it's coming. Can you see where it's coming from, Lady Chelsea?
No.
No, I can't. There we go. I think resolved it now. There you go. It's resolved now. So I think that's enough on the health side. Exercise important for at least 10 to 15 minutes per day. I know I said in previous occasions 5 minutes will do, but I'm told off by the those who are keep fit people. They say, no. You must encourage people 10 to 15 minutes, Martin. I say, okay. I say, okay, I'll say 10 to 15 minutes. I thought 5 minutes is reasonable, huh? Lady Chelsea?
No, it doesn't at all. Don't even know.
But anyway, 10 to 15 minutes is what I'm told to say. Please, I encourage listeners here, take care of your health. Take command of your health. Because if you stay healthy, we are all healthy. Yeah? We are a family. We are a community. We must take care of self. And reparations begins with repairing ourselves. Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Have I said enough? Have I said enough?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, come on then. If I may then, if I just give some recognition to past contributors. Are there any contributors that sort of stand out in your mind, Lady Chelsea, that we should give recognition to? And before you begin, I'm just going to give recognition to the Association of Black Pharmacists. National Association, okay? They were and are a wonderful group of people who I've learned a great deal from, and I continue to monitor websites and public pronouncements. They are an important tool in ensuring our community remains fit and healthy and aware of the facts, particularly when it's concerned with pharmaceuticals and how to use appropriate pharmaceuticals. I want to give recognition to those who have contributed to this. I want to give recognition to Elijah, that pharmacist, I'll get it right. Mafutu, I think her name was. Okay, I want to give recognition to her, and of course to the founder of the association, to Sister Elsie Gomez. I want to give recognition to her as well. Okay, that was a powerful presentation by the National Association of Black Pharmacists. So well done to them. Do you want to give a recognition to the past contributor?
I think sorry for his name wrong. The guy, I think Kunle.
Kunle, yes, from the empowerment group. Yes.
I think they had their show or something a week or two ago.
Yes.
And I think he was very informative and good when he came on. So yeah.
Wonderful. You're quite right. And I know that Kunle and the other mental health experts are coming together, you know. They are coming together. They are proving what is possible. amongst our people. They are coming together, focusing on issues to do with mental health. They're pooling resources with other mental health experts, and I anticipate in the coming months that they'll be back again to tell us the outcome of their deliberation and the initiative that they are going to launch as a result of them putting all their expertise, their resource together towards a common aim and objective. Although they're already paralleled, but I'm confident that will happen. And I, in fact, I'm very excited. I'm really excited for them because, despite all the initial hullabaloo, they are definitely going to do good by us. I'm very, very confident. Okay, very, very confident. Okay. And thank you for that, for reminding us. Okay, I think we should again mention that young author. Yes. Words are wonderful. 11 years old. First book. Derek, young Derek Shortridge. Yes, words are wonderful. Okay. It's on sale on Amazon still. Okay. And we look forward to him writing his second book. We'll get him on the show again, of course. We will encourage our children to write, to think, to be creative. We want to encourage them to be the best of us. I would say to Derek and young Derek and his father, who's also Derek, Derek Senior, much love. Much love to you both. Much love, and may you continue to go from strength to strength. Much love to you. What a powerful show that was. A truly memorable occasion. Truly memorable occasion, and I really do look forward to them being brought forward. Okay. You don't mind if I give another shout out to Sister Joan Green of the Brighter Tuition organization. And of course, her book, which I understand is still an Amazon bestseller, How to Pass the 11 Plus and School Examinations. If you haven't got a copy, go get it, okay? How to Pass the 11 Plus and School Examination by Sister Joan Green, okay, of the Brighter Tuition organization. And of course, they have a website, which is, of course, www.brightertuition.co.uk. And there you can also buy the book via her own website as well. Okay? And we're hoping to organize a book signing activity for her sometime next month. And if you've got additional information, I'm sure she'll call up anyway to tell us where her next book signing opportunity will be. And of course, never forgetting Brother Near of the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. You can Google or use the search engine to find them. And if you are a leader of a supplementary school, Saturday school, and it's not quoted on the National Association of Black Supplementary School website, let us positively encourage you to do so. Okay, their sole aim is to spread the word. Okay, and I know that Brother Near is completely committed to that task. Okay, completely committed. They want to give him a big shout out as usual. Keep up the good work, Brother Near. Keep up the good work. Okay? And if you are a Saturday school leader and it's not quoted, please go to the website, and you're able to do it via the website. Okay, his telephone number is quoted there, and if you have any difficulty, you can always contact ourselves here. But please, if you're a parent looking for a Saturday school, supplementary school for your sons or daughters, one that is concerned with educating both academically and culturally, please contact the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. I think that's fair enough. Do you have another one you want to mention, Lady Chelsea, about what I think of others that have contributed? In fact, one that came to my attention more recently, because this organisation, who back in June of this year made a presentation on this show, and you might remember the organisation Mentivity.
Yeah.
Led by a wonderful young man, Brother Sace Holmes Lewis. Yeah, Sace. I understand that not quite in my ward, but there's a building adjacent to my ward. He's now set up shop there, and he's really been very successful in both attracting resources and new staff. He and that organisation will continue to go from strength to strength. And of course, their primary goal is to support young people in every way they can. And of course, they've got a very strong remit to cater to the needs of young people's mental and physical and spiritual health. You know? So I want to give praise to the young man, Brother Sace, and hope that they will continue to go from strength to strength. Well done to them, well done to them.
Yeah.
And of course, I just want to give another shout out to our Elder Norma, always full of knowledge. Okay. Yeah. And we heard her last week, how she spoke about herself being the matriarch of her family, as she ensures that her children and indeed her grandchildren are completely steeped in our culture, our tradition, and our history, okay? So they don't have these identity problems, okay? Yeah. And they all know, all members of her family know, that they can go to her for advice and guidance whenever they are troubled. What a wonderful person she is.
Yeah, she is.
A wonderful person she is, I'm proud to call her Elder Norma, she just gives, because she knows giving to the community means that the community will flourish, That's why elders are held in such high esteem in our community, okay? Praise Jah, Rastafari. The Elder Norma, may the Creator look over you always, always. Oh, what a wonderful contribution! I cannot understate how pleased we are that we have someone of her standing who can recall what it was like to live in Britain in the 1940s. Can you imagine, Lady Chelsea? Yeah. Can you remember 1940s? Oh, Lord. Yeah, the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, to the 20s, to today. The amount of knowledge that's in that woman's head.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Oh, that's why such people, you've got to hold them in high esteem.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me pause there, Lady Chelsea, and let me go over to yourself for the usual competition for the other young man who wrote a book. That other young man, young Malachi.
Yeah.
Oh, and his mother. Let's give a quick shout out to Sister Segment, his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember when they were here on the show, each time she spoke, he looked up, he wasn't just looking at her, he was looking right into her face, right into our eye, with love and affection and admiration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we all know, when you have a loving parent who really takes it, really attentive, as involved in your development, it's difficult to fail, It is difficult to fail, And even those without such loving parents, it's important to develop networks of people who are loving and giving, So in your moment of need, greatest needs, they're always there to give support to you. And Lady Chelsea, that's the way community should operate.
Yeah, you're right.
Praise be. I'm going to hand over to you, Lady Chelsea. I'll hand over to you. There you go.
Okay. Hi. This is the part where we do the competition. For the kids, this is promoting also Malachi in the book that he wrote, which is one of the reasons why we had him on the show. The book is called Tutankhamun, The Tale of the Adventurous King. If the questions are answered correctly, this is part of the prize, also with £25. Also, if you're not a child or you want it to buy for someone else, it's also available on Amazon, I believe, for £15. Okay, so we have 2 questions as usual. So one for under 10s and one for 11 to 16-year-olds. So I'll just put the volume up. Cool. Okay, so the first question.
Question 1. How do you spell Tutankhamun?
So that's how do you spell Tutankhamun? And that's for children under 10. Then the second question.
Question 9. Who or what did the people of Kemet worship during the time of Tutankhamun?
So that's who or what did the people of Kemet worship at the time of Tutankhamun? And the number, which I forgot to give out. So the number to call is 020 348 152 40. Then you'll be asked for a PIN number, which is 370 733 4397, followed with a hash key sign.
And let me emphasize, I know you're going to laugh, it's the vertical and horizontal symbol on your keypad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the hash sign.
Yeah, that is the hash.
Youngsters, huh? Okay, well, there's a good question. I'll give out the number again if you don't mind, Lady Chelsea.
Yeah,
so the number to call, if you've got a son or daughter who's nearby, can answer that question. Okay, how do you spell Tutankhamun? Okay, and you'll win £25 and a copy, and it will be eventually a signed copy of young Malachi's book, who wrote the book when he was age 14. Okay, so the number to call is 0203 481 5240. You then asked to enter a PIN number, and the PIN number to enter is 3707 33 43 97, and followed by, of course, the hash sign, the vertical and horizontal symbol on your keypad. Okay, so, and of course, those of you who are listening to us or watching us, I should say, via YouTube or Facebook on the Motivator Show, okay, that D-E and space Motivator Show, you'll see the number on your screen, okay? And of course, don't forget to give us a like or subscribe, just press those buttons if you're on those 2 platforms, okay? And those of you who are listening to us via Galaxy Afiwi, you have the number now, 0203 481 5240. And of course, the PIN number, 3707 33 43 97. There you go. All righty. Okay. And we discussed, of course, Lady Chelsea, that we might ask a question or 2 of young Derek as well, huh? Maybe we should do that as well. It'd be interesting to see what questions he would put forward.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, because he's concerned with words. He loves writing, and I'm aware that he has a group of friends, who he engages in both reading and writing. Reading and writing together. Boys coming together to read and write together for the pleasure of reading and writing. Huh?
No,
I look forward to your sons doing the same, Lady Chelsea, huh? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine one day.
Oh my dear, what a wonderful sight that will be to behold, you know. Maybe that's a film I need to put together, you know, of young boys reading together and writing together creatively, you know, exploring ideas, new ways of expressing themselves through the written words, you know.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, it kind of defies all that propaganda that's put out by the awful right-wing press that we have to suffer in this country. Kind of defies it, doesn't it? You know? Yeah. So it most certainly does. So long may that continue. I want to give praise to his parents, to Doug's parents, you know. Again, attentive parents, you know. Parents, we've got to remain attentive. Even when they leave university, we've got to remain attentive.
Yeah.
Got to remain attentive, you know. Got to help our children to continue their growth, you know, continue their growth, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, there you are. So we're listening out for any would-be young person or parent with young people with their sons and daughters nearby. Okay, and of course, I know this is the response is still a bit slow, but we are determined. Yeah? We are determined. We will not give up. Okay, giving up is not an option. Yeah, we believe in our children and their abilities. That's why we will never give up. Yeah, no parent should give up on their children. Yeah? And I'm a parent, and I know Lady Chelsea will eventually be a parent. I will be totally committed to your children's development. Yeah, I know so. I know you. I know. Let me say that with a certainty, yeah? With a certainty, okay. All righty, well, whilst that's still happening in the background, we might just want to just begin to discuss the theme for today's show.
Okay.
So, of course, there may be a hint because of the backdrop, well, you can see my backdrop anyway, you can see my backdrop, yeah? The British Black Music Congress. Yeah, they have a website, but they most certainly have a Facebook page, British Black Music Congress, and they most certainly have a Twitter page as well. And the leader and the founder of the organization, I won't quote his name just yet. Okay, also has a link on LinkedIn as well. It's so good to see you, Lady Chelsea.
Hello.
Wonderful smile you have.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Good to see you anyway. Okay. So tell me, Lady Chelsea, because it's in planning this, of course, we needed to think about what do we mean by British Black music, you know? So what images conjure up in your mind when we say British Black music? What does that come to your mind?
I think maybe, first of all, I suppose like the music that was around when I was younger. So I think that's like garage.
So what's garage, first of all? What is garage?
It's a genre of music. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not the biggest fan, but
is it like a very fast pace, or
upbeat, like kind of like jungle, but I think, but it's not as fast. I don't know I don't know garage artists like that. Sorry, but so that as a genre, Craig David, Jamelia.
Say again, please.
Craig David, artists like Craig David.
So what style of music is he, Craig Davis?
He did a bit of garage, but I don't know if you'd call it UK R&B, or I'll kind of spit on it, but it was like had garage elements to it, I think, as well. I don't know.
Interesting.
Him, there's a Jamelia, she was a pop star. Samantha Mumba, so Solid Crew. Those kind of
So what type of music is so cool?
So I think that was like rap. I think that's like
Rap music.
the UK, like, yeah, I think it was a UK rap. I don't know much about them, so I apologize. But yeah, there's kind of stuff that I kind of heard or was on like Top of the Pops at the time, and those were the I think Black representatives. Those are the people I remember when I was in like primary school and stuff. And then obviously that's like the artists now in the new UK Black scene. So like Stormzy and Dave.
So what style is Stormzy?
I think originally he was like grime, but I think his album.
I've got to ask our guest this question. So what is grime then? What's grime? Because that's a pretty harsh name.
I don't know if I'm the right person to break down genres.
Mentioned it.
Grime, yeah, because that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not the best. It is, as you said, grime it's more like, I don't know, hardcore. I don't know. It's like so rapping, but it's over like not like hip hop beats. It's different beats. I think it's another genre that was created in the UK, I believe. I don't know if like dubstep has some elements to it. I'm not really the best down to break down genres. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. It's just interesting to hear a young person describing these sort of current music genres. And I'm saying to myself, wow, grime. I said, wow, that's a good name, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm sure children listen to some of this music.
I have to say, I'm maybe a little boring. Okay.
Wow.
So, look, I grew up in the era of the reggae lovers rock era. Okay. Which has a beautiful melodic tone to it, with a regular rhythm, and we were talking about men, boys, girls. We're talking about the love of each other, experiencing relationships, the sex and failures of relationships, but it was a really positive expression, during my time, I had what we call during the reggae scene, the truth and rights era, where we discussed, and still continues today, I know in grime, the current issues of the day. Okay, by describing it in melodic terms, that was a truly powerful influencer, I must say, raising my consciousness of what was really happening around us, and the conditions that we found ourselves. It's not normal; it's contrived, And the music had a way of explaining complex ideas in manners that allows one to readily access the idea, so you can evaluate it for yourself. It's like meeting a true orator, describing a really complex formula, but in simple terms, so that the entire audience can appreciate its magnificence. That's what the Truth and Right era and Lovers Rock enabled us to do. I don't get that sense from, forgive me, grime. I don't get that sense, but I hear the messages. Some of it, I hear some of the messages, though, and it does. You are required to continue to listen to it in order to hear the messages. Otherwise, the background. I'm about to say noise, but I shouldn't say that. Music can kind of distract. Can be distracting.
Yeah.
But our guest is an expert in these matters. Okay. And not only is he an expert in these matters and understands our music, Black music, African music in this country, he's also concerned with ensuring that the artists receive their fair share of the royalties, that the structure of the industry is inclusive, not exclusive, which is often the case in many of the industries in this country, So he's truly one of those, not simply a pioneer, but he's a doer. Yeah. He's got natural, when we speak to him again, he has natural charisma, and we understand why he is a powerful force within the UK British Black music scene, and he's one of those who coined this phrase, edutainment. Yeah, you're using music and entertainment as a means to educate, you know, because your mind is receptive, because it's relaxed and it's been so tuned that it can hear new concepts, new ideas, new thoughts, new ways of looking at an issue. So you're better able to cope. Yeah, if you're better able to cope, you're likely, therefore, to thrive. You know, so when our guest arrives, as I said, will be quite an important occasion, really an important occasion. So I would encourage our guest to join us now. So we want to get this interview off the ground because this will be really very interesting. And I can only say to many of those who are listening right now that if there's anything, if it's clearly evident that the presence of Black people, African peoples in this country, one area that we most certainly made a tremendous impact, and that most certainly is in the music entertainment industry. Okay, there's no doubt that we have been able to affect significantly the music scene here in Britain and in Europe, and of course, the world, okay? But I'm from the Caribbean. I'm very much a reggae. I've been brought up as part of my heritage. Reggae is my heritage and all its various guises.
So what do you want to WhatsApp or email quickly?
Oh, we can hear you, my brethren. We can hear you speaking. He doesn't know we can hear him, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Greetings, my brethren.
Greetings.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I've been listening to the show, even though I hadn't come in. I was listening to it on YouTube.
Ah, wonderful. So welcome. I hardly need to introduce you, okay? But I am going to introduce you and I'm going to ask you to really just tell us a little about yourself. So I'm going to first of all say, welcome, Brother KWAKU, okay? Someone who I've known for a number of decades, not years, but decades now, okay? And I've got to tell you, you are one of my, I've got to say publicly, you are one of my mentors.
Hey, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Too much accolades.
I've learned a great deal from you. Never too much. Never too much, if I say so, my brethren. I've learned a great deal from you. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and it's, I don't often say this in public, you know, because I said you are one of my mentors, okay? You're one of my influencers, most certainly, okay? And you may have heard my description of the effect of a good communicator, orator, and the effect of good music, okay, and its impact it can have on young people, most certainly young people's minds, their consciousness, and their receptiveness to new ideas, new thoughts, new ways of finding solutions. You know, truly a powerful medium to use to influence and create momentum for change. Okay, and you, for me, sit right at the tip of the spear. You know, I know there's a certain country, okay, in Zambia, I believe, where the president used a spear as his symbol. Yeah. And I would say that
Kenya. I think that's Kenya.
Kenya, thank you. I got in there. Kenya, thank you. It is. Yeah, Kenyatta. Yeah, and I'm proud. You see what I mean? That's why he's my mentor. Okay. So, my brethren, I welcome you to the show. Okay. Here with my co-host, Lady Chelsea. Okay.
Hi.
Hello, good morning. I heard him say he loves your smile. And I'm sure that's not the first time he said that.
Oh, goodness, smiling, you know. Oh, you know. Such a positive mind, you know. Yeah, and I'm anticipating great things from Lady Chelsea.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
anticipating great things. You know? And I know she's on the up and up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. On the up and up, you know, and what we're doing each time we encounter here, we're giving her more power, more energy to continue on the up and up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Praise be. My brethren KWAKU.
Well, I mean, sorry to cut you. I have to say, I have been watching, especially since I started getting the YouTube links. I've been watching, because obviously when you listen on radio, it's a different thing. And I find it, what should I say, encouraging that you've got a young person as a co-host on your program. So respect to you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's so important to let her take over at times, you know, because, you know, I can talk a lot.
Yeah, I think last week or the week before, you said you had to leave, so she had to manage the program, and she did extremely well. You acknowledged, which was good.
There you go.
Thank
Affirmation, Lady Chelsea. You are from my mentor. Affirmation. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, my brethren, can I ask you, please, just to tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you, KWAKU? Who are you?
I like it. Who am I? Okay. First of all, my name is KWAKU. And not that I don't have any names, but I've been using just that one name for over 20 years. And obviously, we live in a world in which people are supposed to have at least two names for surname. And I say just KWAKU. And I've done things for BBC and whatever. And I just say KWAKU. And the reason why I've got that one name, I use that one name, is that is my only African name. And it's been important for me because I started out working in the media, and I was finding out that my time was being wasted. And I was into pop music in those days. Before I got into British Black music, I was in all types of music, including pop music, because my music taste is quite eclectic. It need not just be Black music or British music. But I found out that papers, for example, were not keen on Africans writing about anything more than just Black music. So, and also I thought, since I don't have my time wasted and that person's time wasted, I put KWAKU. So, you know, you're doing for an African. So if you've got an issue doing for an African, then, you know, we cut to the chase straight away. So yes, it is KWAKU. I was born in Britain, but I'm of Ghanaian heritage. Very proud to be an African. But I have to say this, especially in your show, I'm a Pan-Africanist. But being Pan-Africanist does not mean, so I'm pro-African, but that doesn't mean I'm anti-other. So that I have to establish. When I do
that again, please. Please say that again, because
okay.
You say slowly, because there's many listening who don't fully understand that. Please say that again. Yeah.
I am pro-Africanist, just like Marcus Garvey. I'm very pro-African. But that does not mean that I'm also against non-Africans. So we have to understand that. Often when I do things, the space encourages people who are not just African. A lot of my things are for Africans, but it does not mean that it has to be an exclusively African space. But there are times when we need an African space because of what we are saying. So yeah, I think I needed to put that in there, that I'm a very confident African. And if people into Marcus Garvey, then you know that what I am saying. Because sadly, after I'll say centuries and decades of either enslavement or colonialism, so you see, I'm bringing both the continent and the diaspora into context. Most of us have got our confidence shot out of us. And if you don't mind, I will introduce you. You said, oh, can I just clarify? I didn't coin the phrase edutainment, but I do use it a lot because when we do things, and with the music, for example, music is not just for entertainment, and especially when we're talking the African context, music, yes, does entertain, but music does more than entertain. It educates. It marks milestones in our lives. If, say, a child is born, if, say, a person is born, dies, all those things. So music is not just for entertainment. That's why we've got a strand called Music for Causes. The number 4 and causes is CAUSES. So we use music to speak to, let's say, Pan-Africanism, to speak to history, to speak to things like fair trade, the environment. In fact, I'm rocking a t-shirt, Eco-Conscious Citizens t-shirt. And I thought I'll do that because you've got my banner. So I thought, let me do this because I know next week you're talking about the environment.
Yes.
So I thought I'll just rock the Eco-Conscious t-shirt. Yeah, so KWAKU, my public face was being a journalist. So I was a journalist, particularly in the 90s, on a number of paper magazines, from African magazines like New African. I remember The Drum was an African magazine that was revived in the 90s. I used to write for that. And then my music taste is Catholic, so I used to write for a magazine like Hip Hop Connection. I used to write for trade papers like Billboard, and so many. I used to write about films, any type of music, jazz music, quote unquote, African music, gospel. So that was my public face. Then we started something called Black Music, or BritishBlackMusic.com. That's at the beginning of the internet. So I think we came in about 2003. But before then, we had a website. It was called Music Links, because I used to be in an organization called BMIA, Black Music Industry Association.
Yes.
Sadly, as you know, with a lot of these things, funding goes, and that's the end of it. So what we did was to really run with the things that BMI used to do, like seminars, for example, because I've always been in the music industry. So I had the knowledge, and we're imparting it through seminars. So when the BMI folded, I thought, the internet is there. So we started BritishBlackMusic.com. And then I used to teach music industry at City University. So we got a space at City University to do monthly meetings, which you call the Black Music Congress. So we ran that. It was quite hectic doing that once a month for a couple of years at City University. And then my head was turned to African history. So I don't call myself a historian. I call myself a history consultant, because I have a lot of respect for historians in the sense that the study that they do. That does not mean that I don't really research what I do. And I think what I cover pretty well, but in an accessible manner, because there is space for the academy, but there's also space for that same knowledge to be translated into public spaces. So I do things from community centers to House of Law, City Hall, whatever. I think as Africans, we should be confident to be in any space, whether it's a lowly community center or whatever we think is a big space within our communities. So that's what I do with the African history. But also the music business, I've got a lot of degrees in music and entertainment law and all those kinds of things. That's not the issue. I used to teach in the academy in terms of City University, Westminster University. But you know what? I brought it down to community level, and with my partner, we set up a voluntary organization called BTWSC, a bit of a mouthful, but that's the acronym that we use. But it started off standing for Beyond the Will Smith Challenge. And the obvious question for most people, what is that all about? In the 90s, Will Smith was not really an actor, he was known as a rapper. And people used to tease him or denigrate him. It depends on where people are coming from. That, oh, he's soft, he's such a pop rapper, you know? So he threw a challenge to fellow rappers, say, you know something, if it's so easy, come up with a hit song without curse words, you know, swearing. And that ethos runs through our programs. So whether we work with young people or adults, we don't abide by anything that attracts parental advisory, like swear language and stuff like that. And yeah, so we do a lot of the music industry things I used to do in the academy. I brought it to a community level. So it could be a few hours, it could be half a day, or it could be a number of weeks, depending on funding. We've even got our own accredited courses that run across African history and the music industry. I think I've said a lot. I'll just say for those that are listening.
There's a lot in there. We couldn't try and unpack it.
If you don't mind me just saying that for those that are interested in terms of the music industry stuff, and the last thing I'm doing music-wise is this Monday, which says it's a video and discussion on where would reggae be if it was not for migration? So that's a question that we'll sort of unpack. That's the last thing I've gone. bbm.eventbrite.com. bbm.eventbrite.com. But in terms of our African history and community events, it's posted on African History Plus. Plus is spelled Plus, African History Plus.eventbrite.com. So I think
don't worry, KWAKU. We're going to come to each of your events in a moment, but we still want to get some background on yourself, because I definitely want to get these events, because you have quite a few of them, I've noticed on the Eventbrite. Let me just hand you over first of all to Lady Chelsea. I know she may have a question or two initially. Let's get you started. Lady Chelsea.
Yeah, it's a question I get asked a lot because I studied music management. But how did you kind of like get into music? Did you play an instrument? Because I didn't, but I get asked all the time. Did you play an instrument? Did you sing, or you just had a love for the industry? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sorry.
you asked me whether I played an instrument, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In that case, no, I don't. Yeah. And I think let me tell you the difference in language, because in fact, I've got a program that looks at terminologies, because I think language is very important. And when I do my courses, for example, I say, look, a song is not what you think or what the man in the street means, because we confuse song and tracks, and the rights for a song is different from a right for a track, and the income streams and stuff like that. So coming back to language, when I used to say, I'm in the music, I do music or something, then the next thing is that, are you a musician? So I started not saying music business, but saying music industry. And I think there's a slight difference between saying music business and music in industry, because most musicians say, I'm the music biz or the music business.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think when I just change the terminology and say music industry, it gives a different perspective. Yes. So in answer to your question, no, I have not been a musician. I've loved, so you could call me a failed musician. And so, well, maybe they say those that can't teach. So maybe because I wasn't a musician, I ended up teaching. Let me just give you another anecdote. One of the guys, when we started our music business courses, and there was funding those days, we used to employ people to come and do guest speaker sessions, and we had money to pay them. And one of my colleagues is a music industry lawyer. And he likes to tell the story that when he started, he wanted to be a singer. But very earlier on, early in his ambition, his family made him know that he wasn't such a good singer. But he says he's still in the music business because he's become a music industry lawyer. So he's still around working with musicians and stuff like that. So I think sometimes, and particularly both of you, since you sort of focus a lot on young people, I think sometimes our young people need tough love. And that is, mommy and daddy loves you, but we must be objective now to say, Joe or Kwame or Kwesi or Abena, I don't think your talent is in singing, but I know you're good with maths, so you could be a music industry accountant and still be in the music industry. So we've got to be realistic. Let me give you another story. I remember we went on these marches. You know, in the 90s, there was a lot of, or was in the 2000s, I can't remember, a lot of deaths of young people. So every other week, there was some march to do some African that had been killed. So this parent organized, or sadly, in this case, this young person ended up in Brent. We've got a river called, I think, the river Friend, or what the river in Brent is just gone out of my head. Anyway, he ended up being found in the river. His killers were never found. So the parents used to have the march. And on that march, obviously, to keep boredom away, there'll be maybe some poetry or some music. And this young guy was singing. And I think 99% of the people in the audience knew that the voice wasn't there. But the father was so enthusiastic and like pushing us to cheer him on. Yeah. And I think, yes, parents should encourage their children, but I think he needed a bit of a reality check, because what's going to happen is that young boy is going to spend a number of his years having an ambition of being a singer, And there's some things you can develop. So let me just say that talent can be developed. But what I saw, I didn't think it was natural talent. So it's got, let me say, put it this way, there's a good probability that he would not make it because there wasn't any natural talent there. And the parents would have been part of that. Instead of nipping early in the bud, they've encouraged him. So anyway,
can I
that's
just
a long answer to Lady Chelsea's
It's okay. It's fine.
It's okay. If I may just qualify that, being a Latter-day School governor for a number of decades, teachers and the teachers listening would be interested to hear their views that to encourage young people to play an instrument or to engage in sort of creative expression allows that person to release their inhibitions and be themselves, you know? Is that been your experience? And would you encourage parents to encourage their children to engage when the opportunity affords them creative expressions, either playing instruments or singing or some other creative activity? Would you encourage that yourself?
Absolutely. For recreational purposes, that's absolutely fine. So if you know that you sing in this because you love singing like we all do in the shower, but you don't have ambitions of becoming a singer, then that is fine. So what I said before was about someone who might have ambitions of being a singer, but we all sing in the shower. There's no illusion of us going on.
I sing in the shower.
on going on one of those X Factor type things. So yes, as a recreational exercise is fantastic. But if you have the talent, can I say something? Creativity, actually, that's more than confine itself to creativity. People who are good at music are good at other things like maths and other subjects.
Absolutely.
So, and also back to you, especially Mr. Motivator, since you speak to a lot of parents.
Thank you.
Often we try and think that creativity is just in a box, a singer, a dancer, and that is it. The architect is a creative person.
Absolutely, yeah.
The creativity expresses itself, but Africans generally, and I'm being racial in the sense that I'm looking at the African community, we've got you could even argue that the surgeon is creative.
Yes.
Where am I going to cut this?
Yes.
Am I cutting 3 centimeters or 6 centimeters? So creativity is much wider than what we see in terms of singing and dancing in the cultural industries. We have to expand that a bit more. So back to your question, I'm saying that any form of creativity is useful and it can have a spin-off of making people better in certain subjects. For example, if you learn to read music, numbers matter, relationships matter, and that can have a correspondence to, let's say, even physics, for example.
Yep, it does. Yes, absolutely right. Thank you for that. It's important for parents to hear your words because sometimes music can be misinterpreted as to its usefulness. I recall when I brought home a violin. My father looked at it and said, "Oh, what not?" I said, "It's a violin, Dad." So, you're happy with that? I said, "Well, yes, Dad." You know, and his expression was so grounded. As far as he was concerned, the violin was some instrument that you might see in the Palladium or the Royal Opera House or something like that, separate from being part of my creative expression that will have ramifications for my broad development, you know?
Absolutely.
It was a bit intimidating at the time, but I got through it. Lady Chelsea, I know you've got another question.
Sorry. In your opinion, I know that a lot of the answers may be a bit obvious, but like in your opinion, what do you think affects Black musicians in Britain the most?
Okay, I think just like that happens, you notice that I don't give straight answers because I think sometimes sometimes you need the asides to make it a bit more wider than yes or no type of thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
In answer to the question, I was going to say expectations, and I'll come back to expectations of the artist. But let me come back to it. The motivator talked about teachers and the expectations. I had a nephew, or I have a nephew. When he was in school, he was a very good student. But you know what? Even though he was getting A's, guess what the teacher wrote? He could do better. He could do better.
Yeah, I have that.
Because often the idea is that the guy who's got a D and C is the person that is being pushed. But these teachers saw that my nephew was better than even though he was getting A's. So transposing that to the music industry, often the people that made the decision would be in the creative side, would be people called A&R, artists and repertoire. And it's the expectations that they have of our musicians.
Indeed.
Often, as an African, it does not matter. You're confined to quote unquote black music, something that's got a beat. Something that is just it. Something that doesn't say much. Something that doesn't say much. And I'll give you an example. In the 90s, it was the 90s, Omar is a well-known musician, Omar Laifu. And he was signed to a major label. He came from a small label. A major label took up his contract. And he wanted, this was a guy that I think went to music college. I'm not sure if it was Guildhall or one of those conservatoires anyway. So he could do more than beats. And he wanted a budget to have a proper orchestra. Being an African artist, because the expectations, let's say you can sell 50,000, as opposed to a pop artist that's going to say 100,000, they give you a proportionate budget.
Yes.
So his budget could not reach a proper orchestra. So he had to make do with electronics of orchestral sounds. So I'm saying what holds back Africans, by the way, I don't do black, I do African or European. What holds African artists is the expectations of the gatekeepers, initially the A&R, that's artists and repertoire, and then marketing. So marketing would think that, I think we'll put you in, let's say, blues and soul, for example, job done. They'll not think of putting you in the Standard, for example, or the Guardian. The expectations is very, very, very limited. Even when you're selling, what happens is that when African artists sell, they bring in a disproportionate amount of money to the record company because they don't spend as much on them.
Indeed.
A pop artist can have a big hit, but he still hasn't made money for the company because they spent like millions on that act. British artists will be lucky to take some budgets. So the short answer to your short question is expectations of the gatekeepers.
Thank you. I mean, I want to explore that later on, but I know we've got a caller online, although I haven't officially opened the line, but I suppose I should now. I hope you don't mind the question to KWAKU. Okay, I see number ending with 2911. Good morning to you. Can I ask your name, please? Good morning, with number ending 2911.
Just muted themselves. They're on mute.
You put yourself on mute. Okay.
I didn't want to talk. I don't know why.
Okay, never mind. They put themselves on mute. Number ending with 2911. Do you wish to speak? You are
genuinely
muted.
Think they just come to listen. I think this is the same.
Yeah, it says come to listen. Fair enough. Let's come back to you then, KWAKU, just to capture a few of the points you've made, because the points you've made applies to a teacher in a school as well. Yeah. And I've seen it many a times, expectations of our children, it's there when they're far more capable, much more capable.
Absolutely.
It's a persistent problem. It is a persistent problem in society generally, understating abilities of African people, Black people, or people of color. Okay, it's a problem we have with the culture we're in at the moment, and we've discussed here on this show in terms of the teachings of the education system here, which encourages English, Scots, Welsh, and Irish children to have a belief of moral superiority of sorts, and that affects how they view other peoples. Or the history is centered around the monarchs and wars and victories and domination, blood and gore, and you should be proud of it because this is Great Britain, okay. So the very idea, therefore, that you have a young African boy, highly talented, a genius most probably, okay, in your midst, kind of is contrary to their early indoctrination. Okay. So it's a problem with the culture we're in, and I hope in future shows to encourage those who are traditional English, Scotch, Welsh, Irish people to come on the show and just talk about what it is and what it means to be British. You're laughing already.
Well, because that's a very, very big subject and very subjective. But British always is contextized in phenotype, color, and people cannot accept anyone being British if they're not European. So that's why I said it is such a big and contentious topic.
It's one that we need to have. It's enough already of us telling the world our experiences, We need to hear from the people themselves.
Okay.
Those who are in control, those who are manifestly exhibiting behavior which is not normal. So when we discuss institutional racism, what we're talking about individuals and their behavior within the institution, not the institution per se, it's the individuals. Okay? And we need to speak to those individuals. Why behave this way? Are you able to change? Do you want to change? Do you want to create an even greater Britain?
Can I come in?
Of course.
Two things. First of all, when you mentioned the violin, again, the violin is seen as quote unquote white man's instrument and white man's music.
Absolutely.
Not to say that the violin has got a cousin across West Africa in terms of instruments that look and sound like violin. But secondly, we've had, and also classical music, we've been made to think it's Western, but there are different classical music within, whether Chinese, and certainly in Africa, particularly in West Africa, Mali, Senegal, we've got what's called court music, African classical music.
Yes.
But coming back to the violin, because the stereotype is that it's classical music, and classical music is seen as a Western canon. People don't realize that we've had Africans who flourish within that canon and that instrument. There's a chap called Bridgewater. Bridgewater died, he was born, I believe, in Poland, but he died in Peckham, which I think is in your borough, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Bridgewater was a 19th century composer and child prodigy, fantastic on the violin. In fact, one of the stories worth telling is that in 1803, what's his name? Beethoven wrote a piece which Bridgewater played the first time. So he was good at reading, sight reading. So he played and from what I hear, quite a complicated piece of music, but he played it so fine. The first time he had seen it, first time he played it, that Beethoven was so impressed. That piece was dedicated to Bridge Tower, the mulatto. Unfortunately, Bridge Tower and Beethoven fell out. The story being that Bridge Tower was a bit disrespectful about a female friend of Beethoven. So he crossed it out, and that piece is now known as the Kreutzer Sonata. But you know what? Kreutzer was a French violinist, and he found the work so hard, he never ever played it.
Wow.
So that's that piece on the violin. And then there was a second thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure it will come to mind. And if it comes, I will interject and bring it out.
Like a quick question from Lady Chelsea, I believe. Maybe one more question from Lady Chelsea.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know if you're going to have an answer for this. But I'm going to be working in the industry. I want to do like marketing and maybe go into A&R and stuff myself. I just wanted to know, as someone that's been behind the scenes, if you would know how we'd kind of make, like you said, the lawyer and the accountant or the marketing person in the music business more popular, rather than everyone just wanting to be the artist. I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts or ideas on how we could make other roles in the music industry popular, rather than everyone trying to be a singer or a rapper, even if they're not good.
Right, okay, that is a good question. But you know what? I've got a feeling that it probably might remain so for a long time, because human beings gravitate towards certain things. Let me give you an example. When music started, now I say music, let's say contemporary music of the 20th century, the stars were not the singers. The stars were the band leaders.
Yeah.
So people came to see the band leader because that was his band. But gradually, you have people like Frank Sinatra. Then all of a sudden, people say, because it's like a heartthrob. So we come to see Frank Sinatra and the ilk. So it changed from the band leader to the singer. And that's where we are at now. And I suspect that people like glitz, they like something that's exciting. Why is it that a lot of our actors are the beautiful ones or the handsome ones? And there are a lot of actors who are good, but they don't look good. So that's an image that the consumers, I dare say the industry as well, but the consumers want. So I suspect for a long time, it will be the people in front on the screen or before the microphone, as opposed to people behind it. But what we can do, including yourself, is to do our little bit to let people know that there are other industries in the music business besides being a producer or a singer. But I honestly do not think that, what should I say, the songwriter will become the most important. They are important in reality, because without a songwriter, you don't have a song to have your hit. But the glamour will always be around the performers, those in front of the screen. I'll give you an example. There's a lady called Diane Warren. She's written a lot of hits and across genres. So she's got hits on country music, in R&B, and this is a European American. But she's written hits for, I think, for Monica and all those R&B artists, including rock bands. But not a lot of people know about her because she's behind the scenes. She's not a performer. All you see are the artists that are performing her songs. So those are the people that carry the popularity. So, and in a way, maybe, and she loves being behind the scenes. So I guess a lot of people behind the scenes do not mind being behind the scenes. But what we can do is to let people know that there are other careers in the music business.
Okay.
Thank you. We're coming to the last few questions now, and at 9:30, we're going to formally open up the lines and encourage listeners to call in. Can I ask you, of the various music styles that have been created here in Britain, which of them sort of stand out for you? See, I'm thinking, just prior to your arrival, I asked Lady Chelsea there, well, what music styles stand out for her? She mentioned grime, for example, which I still quite get my head around, which I have to be frank, I don't completely understand, I have to say, but I know that's a generational thing. But which of the music styles stand out for you, and which artists in those styles have made the greatest impression, in your opinion?
Right. I think if we're looking at British Black music, then I have to say it's probably Lavish Rock.
A reggae theme. It's a reggae style. There you are.
Yes, a reggae style for those that don't know. So people like Carl Thompson, Jenna Kay. But what saddens me is that we're always harking back to these people that start in the 70s. And there doesn't seem to be people who've taken out the baton who've created a name that we can mention. If you look at Jamaica, they've got someone like Kofi. Okay, fair enough. There are not a lot. And Protege. So that there's a profusion of young artists taking up the baton. So you don't always have to hark back to Bob Marley. But when it comes to the British music in terms of Lovers Rock, it's always Gin Adibambo. These names that had hits from the 70s, where are the new ones that are sort of taking out the baton? But that's not all. There's also the fusions that have come out of Britain. Things like drum and bass, a whole lot of...
What's that, for example? What is drum and bass? I know when I say drum and bass, I mean,
that's
I'm serious at that point.
That's absolutely taking the essence of reggae music and African music, which is the drum and the bass, but using modern electronic sounds to make it, I'll say, more electronically. So the bass and the drums as well as driving the music, and a flourish of electronic noises and sounds in there. And Britain, I think, has been leading there in that, because I think our experiences were different or are different from the people in the Caribbean and different from the people in the Americas. So in fact, Americans have been copying drum and bass and those fusions, because we have Radio 1. Yes, people listen to Choice and Galaxy and the specialist shows, but we grew up with an eclectic musical palette. In America, people might just listen to an R&B station all their lives, or jazz music. So I think to some extent, they are deep in the music, but rather narrow. But British artists have the potential to be quite wide, because we listen to pop music as well. And especially those that were around when Top of the Pops was going. Every Thursday, people listen to a different style of music. It was what was in the charts. So you could have a disco music to a pseudo-classical music the next time. So that is that in terms of the British music. Certainly on Lovers Rock, the drum and bass, and the other dance fusions. But now, what I'm heartened about is what the young lady, Lady Chelsea, talked about, which is grime music. But let me tell you something. I've got to have full disclosure.
Okay.
I don't engage much with it. Do you know why? Because I told you about BTWSC, and that's an ethos that runs with me, in the sense that any music that either is glorifying or is highlighting negativity and using swear words and is either misogynistic or swear words and gangsterism, my brain just shuts.
I hear you.
So the only positive thing I can say about grime music, no, there are two, because yesterday I was listening to a podcast, and this woman's show is about grime music for the unconverted. And when I was listening to it, I said, this isn't new. The electronic type of music that I was listening to, in the 70s, I used to listen to something called music concrete.
Oh, yes.
Before the samplers came, people actually cut tapes out to do the loops and stuff. It's, to most people, it's like weird music. But one of the innovators was a guy called Philip Glass. So, and I used to listen to that type of music. What I'm saying is that my music taste is quite eclectic. So I understood the idea that they can use a PlayStation or cheap devices and create sonic palettes that can move. So on the musical side, I appreciate that. But on the lyrical side, it's a no-no for me. So that means that I'm switched off against most of that music. But the other thing I'll say in their favor is this. I grew up in the 70s and particularly 80s when I was writing. British music was not, British black music was not respected. Oh, it wasn't authentic. If you're gonna do rap, it has to be American, or else you have to rap. And Lady Chelsea, thank goodness you didn't experience it. In that time, a lot of the rappers had to rap in fake American accents because that's the only thing we expected to be rap music.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of reggae, let's face it, a lot of the artists have got Jamaican antecedents. So if they've got a Jamaican accent, it's a natural. So you can't fault them for that. Again, we had to sort of rap in reggae in terms of like a Jamaican thing. But what's happening is that we've taken out the shackles and people can...
My brethren, hold on a moment. Jamaicans, we do not rap. We used to do the twisting.
Toasting or chatting. Toasting or chatting. Okay, that's fine.
Came from, came from our toasting,
That's fine.
And those who were listening, I, Roy, you, Roy, if I say those names, you recognize them. Yeah, Challenger,
Absolutely.
you know, these are true toasters, and that's where the rap came from.
Absolutely.
From the Jamaican reggae scene. Now, if I may say so.
I think they do now, though. They are starting to. There's a lot more Jamaican rap, and they're going to American, going hip hop, like Spice, Skilly Bang. I think is doing a lot of the hip hop beats. His last mixtape was not really dancehall. I listened to a lot of dancehall, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, that's good. That's good. You've got a voice. Go on.
So like I would like other things I associate obviously with black music that's coming, like drill, though, like grime, because I don't think my generation.
That's another one. Drill.
Yeah, I don't think like
drill business then, grime and drill.
It's okay. I'm not the best at describing sounds. I know what it is, but it is an aggressive form and is lyrically like how you described grime. I'm sure there's positives of it and negatives. It depends how you see it. Some people see it as storytelling. Some people see it as misleading the youth. I don't know. But I enjoy it. But there's a lot of like different lyrical content now that's going on drill beats, and that's the kind of stuff that I listen to. There's a new genre of Afro swing, and there's a lot of UK artists that are of Caribbean and African descent. And I'm not sure if there's a name for this genre, but fusing it together as artists like Western. There's NSG, who are like young African artists, Western from Caribbean descent. R&B isn't that big in the UK, but that's the kind of music I would want to work with. There's artists like Delapo, and we have alternative artists. Like there's a lot of stuff. So going, I just want to say, because I didn't say it before, there's a lot of like stuff and different genres that we're making up. And like KWAKU said, because we're like just lots of different fusions of music together, from Caribbean, British, pop, African as well. I think my generation's really started to fuse it together and really make it sound nice. Afro swing is very popular. Afro beats, I listen to a lot of dancehall, and I think that represents a lot of mine and younger people's music tastes at the moment.
Absolutely.
I just say before you come in, I heard two words there. So drill's one, and Afro swing.
Yeah.
There's another one. I've not heard of that one, to be honest with you. What is Afro swing, people? Tell me, what is that?
I think it's a British take on Afro beats. It's more, I think, I'm not good at describing genres.
Okay. Give us a flavour.
Okay, like, so NSG, I would say, is Afro swing. I don't know if you've heard Afro beats. It's quite, so there's Burna Boy, he's very big right now. He's good. Wizkid's album was amazing. Came out a year or two ago, and I think I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of people are very popular in the UK, as there's a lot of Africans in the UK, and I've grown up around a lot of Africans, so it's like very good to hear. But it's, I think it's just the development of Afrobeats. Like I said, I'm not very good at describing the genre to you, but like it's just like sounds from dancehall, reggae, and like sounds from actual like Afrobeats. And I'm not sure of every other genre of African music. And piano is getting really big right now. That's a really good genre that I want to listen more to. But it's just a development of, I feel like, what has already been there, but it's our take on it as British people, because I don't really see or hear at the moment. I don't. Other like Americans, these like Americans, KWAKU said like R&B and hip hop and rap that's their thing, and you know they're very like gatekeeperish about it, and especially like UK people only recently, I think, you know, rapping in their accents and trying to tour over there, like Stormzy, Dave, Gigs, those people. I think they're actually like being British and touring there and standing in it now. But before, like, a lot of Americans do not accept anyone that does rap and hip hop.
No, you're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll just throw in a couple of things. Going back to the grime, the other positive.
Or drill.
No. Okay.
They're completely different genres.
The only thing I'll say about drill, because that's something I haven't drilled down in there, is that I saw a TV program on young people in the church, and they said they're using the music to speak to young people. That's so they're using gospel. There you go. So
sorry, go on.
Okay. So they're using drill music to preach the gospel. But going back to grime, the positive to me is that here we are with artists that are actually selling albums, because albums is where you make the money from. which on the 90s was very difficult for even R&B artists to sell albums. They may get hit singles, but albums. So we're getting artists, British artists, selling well. So making money, getting Mercury Music Awards and stuff like that from that genre. So that's fantastic in terms of the industry type of things. But as I said previously, I do have issue with the lyrics and the stance that they take. But let me come back a bit more. Our society has changed.
Okay.
If you look at the demographics, for example, up to the 80s, it was African Caribbean led. And of that, either in numbers or in cultural hegemony, the Jamaicans dominated. So you have even people from the other parts of the Caribbean pretending to be Jamaican. The African number, well, I mean African, because we're all African, whether you're from the Caribbean or from the continent. So, but in terms of continental Africans, it's only in the last few years that the numbers have increased. And I think probably the continental Africans are the majority now. But even if they're not in the majority, what has changed is culturally. Probably you're aware that Nollywood, which is the Nigerian film industry, those films are now popular in the Caribbean. This was something that you could not have envisaged 20 years ago. Most of the leading grime artists are of continental African heritage. So now, 10 or 20 years ago, I wrote an article and I interviewed a number of people I wrote it for New Africans. So I was interviewing continental Africans. And some of them said, they used to be ashamed. So they pretended that they were not continental African, they're from the Caribbean. Some wouldn't want to use their African names and stuff like that. But things have now changed. Now let's look at actors. The leading British African actors who are making Hollywood, male and female, are continental Africans. Some, in fact, have African names, whether it's Idris Elba or whatnot. So that is why I promote an African British identity. I don't do black, I do an African British identity. That means there's no matter where you're coming from, whether your antecedents is in the continent or the Caribbean. So if Idris Elba is doing well, fantastic. Yes, 2 days ago, the Gleaner had a program, and obviously the Gleaner is a Jamaican paper, but the keynote speaker was Gus John. But how many people know that Gus John is not from Jamaica? But that does not matter. The fact is that it's an African British person or it's a Caribbean person. So I would rather we cut down the silos and work within a bigger, wider pool of African British, and anybody can come to the table. They've got the talent. It doesn't matter whether your name is John Smith or KWAKU Boachi. And I'm glad to see more and more. I'm seeing African names in the media because a lot of people, I remember being on a radio program and this guy said, no, he does not approve of African names. Yes, I know there is both. No. I'll put the context to it.
Yes.
Both anecdotally and also evidence shows that people that have African sounding names are discriminated against. So if you make an application and your name is KWAKU Boachi as opposed to John Williams, there's a market that has been evidence. So that's not nothing to argue about. But I'm saying, when are things going to change? When are we waiting for that perfect day for us to use our African names? So each of us have to use it and have the confidence. And the more we see people who are rising, who've got African names, the more I think KWAKU or Kojo down the road, who is 8 years old, will feel comfortable to call himself KWAKU. People feel embarrassed for their parents to come to the school when they've got thick African accents. It's like my mama is embarrassing me. Or don't call me Kwame in school because everyone knows me as John.
Yeah. These
are some psychological things that need to be broken down. Let me give you a story. A lot of people know about Kwame Kwei-Ama. I hope you've heard of him. Your listeners will probably have, because he used to be in a TV show, I think Holby City or whatever, and Casualty. But not only has he been a successful playwright, actor, and he's been an artistic director. He was handed to Boston, I believe, many years ago. He's worked in Senegal. He was not born Kwame Kweyama. He was born Ian Richard. Ian something, I think Ian Richard. His parents are either Guyanese or Guyanese and something else from the Caribbean. But you know what? In the 90s, when he was watching Roots, Lady Chelsea, do you know the TV program Roots?
I watched it in school, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Kwame Kweyama told his mother, he thinks he might have been about 13 years old, that when he grows up, he's going to change his name to an African name. Of course, mommy was not happy, and I can understand. But good to his word, he came to Ghana, did some investigations of his lineage, and picked up words, names that are my people, the gods in Ghana. And that's why he changed his name from Ian Roberts, his name was Ian Roberts, to Kwame Kweyama. How many people are going to be bold enough? Yesterday, I was talking to a lady from Trinidad. I've known her for a few months. It was only yesterday that she told me that her mother gave her an African name, but it's a middle name. So she seldom uses it. But I emailed her and said, please give me the what should I say, the privilege to call you by your African name. So now I call her by her African name. There's no point of having the names and not using it. One more thing before you come in, the motivator.
Yes.
My mother-in-law has European names. She's known by European names, but she's got an African name. Do you know what? I wrote an article because she's one of the people that came to do nursing before the Windrush, before the NHS. She's still alive. So I wrote this article. It's on blackhistorymonth.org.uk. It's got the most comments. It's got the most comments. She's been featured in a program that the Young History Project did on nurses from Africa. It's been featured, interesting enough, in a Windrush video. The photo that I took, I don't know if they didn't realize that she didn't come from the Caribbean. But anyway, this is what I did. I transposed the African name that she doesn't use to the first name and put the European name second, because we have to break that cycle. Absolutely. What is the point of our parents giving us names and we don't use it? Lastly, what happens in both in the Caribbean and Africa, we have a wrong notion of the names, because you know how it's presented as Christian names. Most of those names are not biblical. Mm-hmm. Richard, I don't think Richard is in the Bible. A lot of these names that we present as Christian are not even biblical. So that is why, because we are nominally Christian, we think we must have Christian name. Last thing, sorry to go on. My brother-in-law, right, is called Nidaku. When he was in school, do you know, people will say, what's your Christian name? Oh, and no, and you say Nidaku, and they say, yes, but what's your Christian name? The idea being that they're expecting a European name, like Michael or Richard, and they can't fathom that someone doesn't have a European name as a Christian name. And he was Christian, but he was proud to say he's called Nidaku. So when Carter G. Woodson says the miseducation of the Negro, we are all at different phases. And names and identity are one of the things that we have to fight. Last, and I've been saying last for a while, I know, Mr. Motivator, you are in the reparations movement. Yes. I say we cannot just talk about reparations as someone else do something. What about reparations about us do something, which is self-repair? One of the self-repair is about identity. What do we call ourselves? How do we see ourselves? Let me introduce a word to you. Afri-victimized syndrome. That is a word I coined, Mr. Motivator. So that you can say I coined that. Afri, and I don't use Afro because Afro links it to a hairstyle.
Indeed.
So it's called Afri-victimized syndrome. A lot of us Africans are in that. That means when Africans are different to Europeans, waiting for validation for Europeans, waiting for Europeans to see them as a good egg so they don't rock the boat. Mm-hmm. Good example. I went to a Black History Month, and I do African History Month, by the way, and they had a European scholar telling us about the Zong. The Zong was a ship in which 132 or 133 Africans were thrown overboard, and they went to claim insurance. So it's a well-known story about the enslavement narrative. The professor said something that was historically wrong. We were challenging him, and do you know what? Because it was organized by an African, the African was being embarrassed. They thought we were embarrassing the situation. So a lot of people left that thing with a wrong information by the professor. Do you know what? When we came home, my wife and I emailed him. Do you know what he said in his reply? Yes, he agrees, but please, let's keep it between ourselves.
Oh dear. Oh,
let's keep it between ourselves.
Yes. I understand, my brethren. As you know, I'm conscious of time now. What I want to do, and thank you for that, because that was very illuminating, and I'm going to use that terminology, and I will give you the appropriate accreditation for it. Okay, thank you for that. But of course, here I try to avoid the term black. And I refer to ourselves as African with a K.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay? Really important. And yes, each time I remind members, those who are listening, I'm a member of the Global African Congress, a group of mature, emotionally mature Africans who seek to promote reparations as a way forward. But reparations begin with self. And what
absolutely,
and what our brethren KWAKU has just highlighted is a piece of that puzzle, how to self-repair. And indeed, the term used, which is an interesting term, because of course, is self-victimization, is a I might say self-repair exercise that we need to engage in. We've got to engage in active self-repair. The environment we're in now is emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually damaging. Okay, it's very unhealthy, and we need to build up antibodies, insulation, so that we can be our true selves and not the mirror image that others create for us. It's vitally important. It undermines confidence, and if you undermine a child's confidence, they're less likely to want to succeed. You know? It's such an important area of discussion. But I want to, if I may, KWAKU, take us on to your events. And I want you, please, this time, slowly, to give us details of the event. I'm actually on the Eventbrite website as well.
Yes. Okay.
And just take us through what event you have, the date and time that our listeners can attend. Go ahead.
Okay. Right. So my wife always reminds me to talk slowly, but I guess I'm
Where's your wife? I saw a moment ago. Let's do this bit. Okay, never mind. Go on.
No, I'm so passionate. I don't know. Maybe you may have it for your show next week, since she's an environmentalist. So I know you're doing the environment next week.
Oh gosh. Oh, it's such a small world, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
excellent. Yes.
I will not say, well, she's the one that the T-shirt I'm wearing.
Yes. What a small world. Absolutely.
As soon as I saw you had the BritishBlackNews.com banner, I thought, let me promote this, because I know next week you're talking about the environment. And that's the organization I support it, just like she supports what I do. So excellent. Coming back to the events, as I said, she said I should talk slowly. So we, for now, are only doing things online via Zoom. It's 6 to 9 UK time. So whether the clock changes or not, it's still 6 to 9 UK time. Mm-hmm. So everything's on a Monday, because in fact, the program is called Monday Extra History Sessions. Mm-hmm. So each session starts with me doing a video mashup. So I go on the internet or whatever resources and bring in visuals and text that speak to the topic. And after I've shown the video, then we can have a discussion about whatever the topic is. Mm-hmm. So on November the 1st, which indeed is this coming Monday, the topic is, where would reggae be if it were not for migration? Mm-hmm. So I'm positing that reggae, the roots comes from Africa. It was developed in Jamaica, and then I'll put this context to it. Africans were forcibly trafficked from Africa to the Caribbean. They developed this music called reggae, which has got so many elements: mento, calypso, other things from the zouk, other things from the Caribbean. When the people now voluntarily migrated to the UK, it had an impact on the development on reggae. So have we not had that migration, particularly, either from Africa or from Jamaica to the UK, reggae might have been just another niche music. Because if you look in the Caribbean, there are lots of musics that are quite niche. Yeah. Not a lot of people know, even soca. It's not that global, and it is quite popular, but it's not on the level of reggae. For instance, they've got zouk, they've got so many genres in the Caribbean, but they've not made headway. And my hypothesis that is because of the migration to the UK and the what UK did in terms of both the African Caribbeans and the Europeans in the UK and the music industry. Okay. For example, what Ireland did to promote Bob Marley.
I'm going to ask you, please, I'm just conscious of our time.
Okay. I'll be quick. Fair enough. Okay. The week after, November 8th, we've got police and the criminalization of African British use by numbers. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at the cases in which more than 2 people, whether it's the Tottenham Court Road 2, whether it's the Oval 4, whether it's the what was it? Bonfire Night 12. So these were routine criminalization by the police of a number of African youths, particularly in the 70s. I'm going to give you an exclusive. We've got an apology from the British Transport Police to the African British community for the criminalization of African youths, or the historic criminalizations, because there was a guy called D.S. Derek Ridgewood, who fitted up, and I heard that word fitted up earlier on your program, fitted up a lot of young people who ended up in jail. Coming quickly, 1974, the Carib Club story and other club land horrors. In 1974, Carib Club was in Cricklewood in Brent. The police came in there. They always say they've got an excuse. They're looking for someone. Altercation happened, and 12 of the people were taken to jail. They ended up in court. They ended up in the Old Bailey. A well-known musician, Dennis Bovell, was one of the 3 that was incarcerated. November 22, marking the centenary of the 1924 Pan-African Congress, into Pan-Africanism. So you should know how important this. Everyone knows about the 1945 Pan-African Congress. Few people know that in 1921, we had the Pan-African Congress in London. I've got permission from the Du Bois Central Library to use their resources. So we'll be telling you how Du Bois communicated with individuals and organizations in London before and after the Congress. November 29th, we've got the true history of African history / Black History Month in the UK. If you want to know how it happened, it did not happen in the GLC, and there's someone who's been giving misinformation. I go to the original documents of the London Strategic Policy Unit. That was the organization, not the GLC, that birthed Black History Month in 1988. 87. And your listeners probably need to know about this, that it was based on something called the African Jubilee Year 1987 to 88 Declaration. If you look at the logo, it marked the 150th anniversary of the emancipation of the Africans in the Caribbean. It marked the 100th anniversary of the birth of Marcus Garvey and the 25th anniversary of the founding of the OAU, Organization of African Unity. When we hear people saying the Asians, Black meant, you're a politician, so you understand Black can mean Black, African, and Asian politicians, fine. But in terms of Black History Month, misinformation is going around that it included our Asian brothers. No, it did not. And the logo, the documents spoke to the African experience, including the global African experience. So that included Africans in Papua New Guinea. In fact, they got some messages from people in Papua New Guinea all over the world, but not Asians. They got people from India. The diaries are Africans. Okay. So December 6th,
I think you said it very quickly. The Dalits in India are
Africans. There's a lot of Africans in India. Some do not know the Africans, some do. And not all of them ended up slaves. Some of them were soldiers, some of them were merchants. And across Asia, in terms of Iraq, Persia, we've had Africans who've had kingdoms, or mini kingdoms. They've ruled in Asia. So we have to understand that. Right. Anyway, going to December 6th, we've got African history in Britain, those who build the foundation. before 87, people were doing African history. We have to know the people who wrote the books, the people who are doing the exhibitions, the people who are teaching African history. So this will be bigging up those people who did it before, and also bigging up those people who've taken the baton and are doing it currently. Mm-hmm. Then we've got 2 more. Then December 13th, the men with ships and preaching back to Africa before Marcus Garvey. Mm-hmm. Some people lazily tie the "you and I" Marcus Garvey with a "back to Africa" mantra. Yes, he talked about that, but that was not his main thing. In fact, if you're interested, if you go to blackhistorymonth.org.uk, or you get this year's Black History Month magazine, I've written an article on it. Back to Africa was not the main focus of Marcus Garvey or "you and I," but more importantly, the Black Star Line never went to Africa, but there were Africans who had ships that went to Africa, and there was at least one African who had a ship coming to America. So we need to know that story. And lastly, 20th December, we end with something called UK African Women Self-Organizing. There have been a lot of organizations run by African women or led by African women. Who are these women? We need to hail them. We need to have a forum that highlights the work they have done or are still doing. So if anyone listening knows of any organization, and what I'm particularly interested in is out of London, because our stories always seem to be about London. There were organizations in Manchester, Liverpool. Let's hear about them. Let's highlight these women that did so much and those that continue with that work. All the information is on African History Plus, that's PLUS, African History Plus.eventbrite.com.
Say it one more time, please.
African History Plus, please spell the plus as PLUS, African History Plus.eventbrite.com, where you see all these events I've mentioned listed.
Beautiful. And I will make sure that information is circulated. And of course, this show is available for review on YouTube and Facebook within the Demotivator Show format. So DE space Motivator Show. So you can, those who are listening can rewind and go through each of these important events at your leisure. But I'll positively commend each event to the listeners. KWAKU is the most exceptional African. My mentor, one of my mentors, is someone I've learned a great deal from. KWAKU, I want to thank you for what's been a powerful presentation. I've got a number of messages here. The first one, of course, was please let him slow down this time. That's okay. You did well this time, don't you worry. And others are inspired, okay? Let me tell you, others are inspired. I've got to tell you, we didn't need the calls. We just needed your messages. It's your messages that will effect change. You know, you will rustle the feathers. You effect change. Your commitment to the community, your commitment to the music, your commitment to us all. I want to say to you, thank you.
Thank you. Let me just say something going, because you've given me kudos. I want to give you kudos, and for your listeners to hear this. We are in the middle of the UN's International Decade for People of African Descent. That is almost past the middle milestone, and not a lot of people know about it. In 2011, it was International Year for People of African Descent. In the third quarter of that year, I went around to asking people 2 questions. Are you aware of this International Year? Next question, are you African or Black? Subsequently, we had a conference in January 2012. One of the things we did, and respect to the motivator, I was just saying that we should be calling ourselves African. And him being a politician, we put forward the motion that we should be calling ourselves African, and it was passed unanimously. Since 2012, even when I used to do things in Harrow and it was funded by the council, we used African, and then local newspapers had to start talking about African history rather than Black history. So I give you kudos for moving us forward to at least have a resolution on the language. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're almost out of time. Thank you again. A powerful presentation.
Thank you.
And I hope that we encourage others to come along to your sessions. Thank you. Good. He's got that. Okay. Oh, Lady Chelsea, huh? Powerful, huh? Powerful.
Yeah.
Inspirational. And we've really got to try and get along to some of those sessions. But next week, Environmental Week, will be the Environmental Week.
Okay.
Lady Chelsea, how are you?
I'm good.
Good day to you. Good day to you. Stay strong and prosper. Yeah?
Thank you. You too.
Yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
I know